The fifth problem from solving linear equations is also an application problem or a word problem. So let's read it carefully to see what it's asking. So an air traffic controller is tracking two planes, plane A and plane B. So starting out, plane A was at an altitude of 414 meters, and plane B was just taking off. So let's write down that information. Let's write down the information we have about plane A and about plane B. So plane A started at 414 meters, and plane B was just taking off. So plane B was starting at 0 meters. What else do we know? We're told that plane A is gaining altitude at 15 meters per second. Plane B is gaining altitude at 24 meters per second. So plane A is climbing up in the air at 15 meters per second. Plane B is climbing up into the air a little bit faster at 24 meters per second. And we're going to let x be the number of seconds that have passed. Okay, so x is going to be, for both of them, x is going to be the number of seconds passed. So for each plane, write an expression for the altitude of the plane after x seconds. And then we're going to write and solve an equation to figure out when the planes have the same altitude. Okay, so let me go ahead and separate this. So information we have, plane A starts out at 414 meters. It's climbing at a rate of 15 meters per second, and x is going to be the number of seconds passed. For plane B, starts out at 0 meters, climbing at 24 meters per second, and x is going to be the number of seconds passed. So for plane A, the altitude after x seconds is going to be, well, they start out at 414 meters, and we're going to add to that 15 meters per second times x seconds. And then the altitude after x seconds for plane B, they start out at 0 meters per second, so I don't write anything down. And they start increasing at 24 meters per second times x seconds. So here we have the two expressions for the altitudes of the different planes, of the two planes after x seconds. Plane A is going to be at an altitude of 414 plus 15x, and plane B will be at an altitude of 24x after x seconds. And so now what we want to do is write and solve an equation to find out when the two planes are at the same altitude. So let's go ahead and put this information up here where we can look at it if we need it. And then we will solve the last problem. So we want to solve an equation when the planes are at the same altitude. Well, the altitude of plane A is 414 plus 15x, and we want that to be equal to the altitude of plane B, which is 24x. And look, we have a linear equation, so we just have to solve it for x. So let's subtract 15x from both sides. And so this will cancel out and just leave 414. This will be equal to 9x. So 414 equals 9x, divide both sides by 9. And once we do the arithmetic here, x is going to be equal to 46. And so we can kind of sum all of this up by saying the planes will have the same altitude after 46 seconds. Because we defined x to be the number of seconds the altitude after a certain number of seconds. And so if we set those two equations equal to each other and solve for x, we'll get how long it takes for the planes to be at the same altitude.